Hello, welcome to the lecture. What is globalization? Maybe you heard this word before. It is the spread and flow of financial products, for example, money, goods, computers, chairs, technology. For example, something was invented in one country and now we use it in another country. Information, you can download any book from anywhere in the world on your computer. And jobs, and also people. For example, students come from many countries to Chiang Mai. Lecturers come from many countries. We are crossing borders, we are crossing cultures. You can travel to any place in the world and you'll be there in 24 hours through using an airplane. So we're living in a globalized world. The world is flat. Interesting, right? You heard that it was round, but some people say it's flat. One of these people is Thomas Friedman. He wrote a famous book called The World is Flat, Globalized World in the 21st Century. So what is he talking about? Geography? Physics? No. There's an expression, flattening of the field. It means everyone starts having the same opportunity. When the world is round, some people are on top, some people are behind. But when the world is flat, everyone has the same opportunity because of technology. You can write a very good software, and it doesn't matter that you are not in the US, you will still get paid. If you're very smart and your family is poor, you still can get a good job because you can send your resume through email, for example. So the world is flat, a brief history of the 21st century. He wrote it in 2005. His name is Thomas Friedman. He is talking about globalization in the 21st century. The title suggests the world has a more level playing field. It's level, everyone is more or less equal. For commerce, in which most competitors, except for labor, have an equal opportunity, right? You have a good factory, it is in China, you will sell all over the world. Friedman suggests that countries, companies, and individuals need to remain competitive in the global market. Historical and geographical divisions are, according to the author, less important. So it doesn't matter that China is far away from Mexico and US is closer to Mexico, but because China makes good electric vehicles which are cheaper than American vehicles, Mexicans will buy these cars. So you see, distance doesn't matter. What matters is technology, because today we can transport anything, any good across the world. And if it's a digital service, for example, teaching, you can be a teacher sitting in England teaching kids in China. You see how it all works. And then Chinese parents will pay in Chinese currency, and the teacher in the UK will receive British pounds. So Friedman defines 10 flatteners, which he sees as leveling the global playing field. So don't forget, he was writing his book in 2005, so some things I will need to explain. Collapse of the Berlin Wall. It happened in 1989. Some of you were not born then. He called the flattener when the walls came down and the windows came up. The event not only symbolized the end of the Cold War, but also allowed people from other sides of the wall to join the economic mainstream. It's a discussion about Berlin Walls coming down, the fall of the communism, and the impact of the Windows-powered PCs, personal computers, had on the ability of individuals to create their own content and connect to one another. At that point, the basic platform for the revolution to follow was created, the IBM PC Windows, a graphical interface for word processing, dial-up modems, and standardized tool for communication, and the global phone network. Imagine before that, people couldn't travel freely. There was internet, but your computer was not connected to computers outside. And even before that, computers were only used by engineers. So the world has dramatically changed from the time when, for example, your grandparents were living or your parents started living. Now it's very different. Netscape. Okay, maybe you don't know what is a Netscape, but it was a browser, kind of like Internet Explorer, kind of like Chrome or Firefox. Netscape went public at the price of $28. Netscape and the web broadened the audience for Internet from its roots as a communication medium used primarily by early adopters and geeks to something that made the Internet accessible to everyone from 5-year-olds to 95-year-olds. The digitization that took place meant that everyday occurrences such as words, files, films, music, and pictures could be accessed and manipulated on a computer screen by all people across the world. So computers are important, but and internet is important, but more importantly, the program that can connect all these computers and the program that can help us read the documents, watch the movies, share them, right? So it's very important. So it's, the next stage of the development of the digital era. Workflow software. This is Friedman's catch-all for standards and technologies that allowed work to flow. It is the ability of machines to talk to another machines with no humans involved. Friedman believes the first three forces have become a crude foundation for a whole new global platform for collaboration. This is complemented by the emergence of software protocols, the language that enabled anyone to design and publish documents that could be transmitted to and read on any computer anywhere. The emergence of such software is the genesis moment of the flat world and means that people can work with another people on more stuff than ever before. This created a global platform for multiple forms of collaboration on which the next 6 flatness depend. So I open a text file, I edit it, then I send to someone in New Zealand. They open it, right? And they can read it, edit it, and then send back to you in China. And then you will send to US, right? So we can work together on the same problem. How wonderful. We don't need to look for a format. We don't need to do anything. We just open the file. Uploading. So this, we are not just downloading, we can create content. Uploading involves communities that upload and collaborate on online projects. Examples are open source software, blogs, and Wikipedia, TikTok, YouTube. Friedman considers the phenomenon the most disruptive force of all, and also talks about how this gives individuals the possibility to replace news and the traditional music industry because of individuals' possibility of blogging and podcasting. So, for example, I no longer watch TV because there's so much interesting stuff on YouTube, and many YouTubers create content that is more interesting than stuff that I can watch on TV, and I can talk to them, I can share comments, I can create content of my own, and then people will click, share, like this content, movies, documentaries, educational stuff, right? So now we're all creators, and less people are watching TV, and in some countries TV programs are not free, so why would you do that when you can watch stuff on YouTube? So you see, uploading is very important. Outsourcing. Friedman argues that outsourcing has enabled companies to split service and manufacturing activities into components that can be subcontracted and performed in the most efficient, most cost-effective way. This process became easier with the mass distribution of fiber optic cable during the introduction of the World Wide Web. So, for example, there's a company in US that produces some machines. But customer service agents are in India. They speak English and they can answer questions about the machinery, right? So many companies from US, from UK, Australia are sending their phone calls with questions, payments to India, to the Philippines, right? Outsourcing. So you can outsource this and it's cheaper for you. It's more efficient. So these companies no longer have to train people in the US. They no longer need to pay them higher salaries. This can all go to another country and it doesn't cost anything because now the cost of a phone call to India is very cheap because it goes through the internet. And people in India and the Philippines, they get paid less than in the US. So companies have incentive to do so. Offshoring. This is the internal relocation of a company's manufacturing or other processes to a foreign land to take advantage of less costly operations there. China's entrance into the WTO allowed for greater competition on the playing field. Now such countries as Malaysia, Mexico, and Brazil must compete against China and one another to have businesses offshore to them. So offshoring, it means not just customer service, but you move your factory to another country or your offices. So for example, when you buy an iPhone in any country except US, you are paying to Apple that is registered in the country of Ireland. Why? Because there's less tax there. So many companies, even though they work in your country, their headquarters, their bank accounts, maybe their manufacturing is in another country where it's cheaper. So again, you don't, even though you're an American company, you don't need to be in America. Even though you're a Chinese company, you can be working in another country. Supply chaining. Friedman compares the modern retail supply chain to a river that describes Walmart as the best example of a company that uses technology to streamline item sales, distribution, and shipping. So think about Amazon, think about Lazada, right? They're moving products from the factory to the customer, and it should go like a river, it should go fast. You place the order and you receive it next day or this week, next week, right? And then it's very important. Again, without technology, it would not be possible because how would I buy stuff online? How would I pay? How would they ship, right? And maybe 10 years ago, very few people were shopping online in Thailand. It wasn't developed. People didn't trust. Shipping was a problem. Now everyone is buying things online, and more companies are closing their brick and mortar shops, their actual stores, because they can save money on rent, and they're moving to online. So, but everything must be organized so that as soon as the customer places an order, it's shipped from China, from whatever country to you. And again, people all over the world are using AliExpress. Again, stuff from China is traveling all over the world. Again, it takes a week, but people are willing to wait because they're saving money on this, even though it's coming from far away. Insourcing. Friedman uses UPS as a prime example for insourcing, whereby the company's employees perform services beyond shipping for another company. For example, UPS repairs Toshiba computers on behalf of Toshiba. The work is done at the UPS hub by UPS employees, right? So insourcing, sometimes you don't outsource, but you do things that are not your primary responsibility. This is another factor. Okay, so it makes things more efficient. I'm a shipping company, but I can repair things as well. Informing. Google and other search engines and Wikipedia are the prime examples. Never before in the history of the planet have so many people on their own had the ability to find so much information about so many things and about so many other people, writes Friedman. He states that the growth of search engines is tremendous. For example, Friedman states Google is now processing roughly 1 billion searches per day, up from 150 million just 3 years ago. And this is old information, right? So searching is very important. If I have a wonderful product, if I have wonderful information, but people cannot find me, then I'm invisible, right? So it's important for a company to be visible, and it's important for customers to find that company. So Google comes in. Of course, they don't do it for free. This is their business, but they help us. Without them, how would we find useful books? How would we find information, videos, etc.? So it's their bread and butter search engine. The steroids, right? Usually people take steroids to grow bigger and bigger, some kind of vitamin supplements. So what things are steroids for the globalization, for the flattening of the world? This is wireless voice over IP, right? Phone calls to India now going through the internet, voice over IP. File sharing, we can send files, movies, engineering stuff, right? Medical data. And I used on personal digital devices like mobile phones, iPods, iPads, personal digital assistants, on instant messaging. Again, we're sending messages to each other. Digital, mobile, personal, and virtual, as well as all analog content and processes, from entertainment to photography to word processing. So now everything is becoming digital, and we can share this information quite easily through the internet. Everything can be digitized and therefore shaped, manipulated, and transmitted by those processes at high speed, ease, anywhere, anyone, and it's cheap. So for example, let's say I'm a writer, I'm writing a book. I can collaborate with my friend who is living far away. And then once the book is finished, I don't need to print it. I will send the file to the publisher. Then the publisher will edit it and send it back to me. So I don't need to travel. Remember how also during COVID, right, education was done through the internet, so you didn't have to go anywhere. Everything was at home, right? So again, this wouldn't be possible without technology. Again, we're moving to 2023. Now we have AI, and it's changing the world even more. So this is the video of Isaac Asimov, and he's talking about the future. He's talking from 1982. He's talking about our times. Let's watch a little bit.
Now let's look
at military machines. They're by thousands of years of human depredations, not the world.
All right, speaking of what might happen, though, back here on Earth, the computers have really come into their own in these last few years. What do you see ahead for the computer age? Have we crested on that one as well?
Oh, no. The computer is at the center of everything. The computer is a problem-solving device. It is a technique that makes it possible to do things that would be utterly impossible without it. We couldn't reach the moon without the computer. We require the computer to handle these spaceships that we're making use of. Everything we do in space, we won't be able to do without banks of computers doing thinking faster than we possibly can. And in the same way, the advance of robots depends entirely upon the computer. In fact, the simplest way of defining a robot is as a computerized machine.
Do you see a time where computers at the basic human level in homes and that sort of thing, that everybody will have a computer? Will have to have computers in order to exist and make it down here on Earth?
It's not even a matter of having to have it. They'll want to. When television first came in 1948, it was easy to predict that everybody would want to have a television set simply because it was primarily used for entertainment. Well, computers are going to be necessary in the house to do a great many things, some in the way of entertainment, some in the way of making life a little easier, and everyone will want it. And the home computer is the wave of the future.
So this was in 1982 when he made these predictions. At that time it was hard to believe because computers were big, they couldn't play music, they couldn't show pictures, everything was for specialists. So some would watch this and would say, oh, he's just inventing stuff, it's not possible for another 1,000 years. And here we are, just 42 years later, everyone has a mini computer, smartphone in their pocket, and they can call anyone in the world, they can watch any movie, they can find any book, they can do so many things. So imagine the future. What will the future be like? Because now we have some sort of AI that can create pictures, that can write music, can write text, and more it will be used with the robots. So we won't be, controlling the robots. Robots will be working on their own. We'll give robot a task, and then the robot will perform the task, calculating in their brain the best approach. And it's already here. It doesn't look perfect. Maybe it's very expensive, but give it next 50 years and we'll see what happens. So this is a robot from Tesla. It can walk. Right? So artificial intelligence is very important because we don't want to tell the robot what to do every minute of the way, every second. We just say, okay, go and bring something, go and do that, make me a cup of coffee, and the robot will decide on the best approach. For example, in construction, right? Or egg. Every egg is a little different, so a robot has to decide on the best way to hold that egg. So it's quite difficult. This is humans. This is how we are. Every second of the moment, we are making decisions. Our brains are quite complex. We are trying to build complex machines. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you for attention.